Welcome back to the Snowpoint Cast. Today we're going to be going over a deck called Rayboar. Rayboar's a deck from 2014 States format, really good deck. But yeah, let's get right into it. So, deck starts off with 3 Rayquaza EX. Rayquaza EX is your main attacker in the deck. Really, really cool full art. I love that full art on that card. So Rayquaza's got 170 HP, a single retreat, and a weakness to dragon, and 2 attacks. The first one's kind of meh, but it does have its niche uses in certain situations. So, Celestial Roar for a colorless, you discard the top 3 cards of your deck, and then take any energy cards you attach or find there and attach them to Rayquaza. So, discarding 3, especially at that risk, you only play like 11 energies, so the odds that you hit that aren't amazing. But if you're feeling like risking it for the biscuit, definitely you can go for a Celestial Roar. But it's for those situations where you're like, wow, I didn't hit a Tepig on my first turn, so I won't be able to accelerate, and like I need to get energy on my board. So sometimes it's worth the risk, but often it's not, because you can discard something like just the risk of discarding like double Emboar, or like there's so many important resources like superior energy retrieval that you need, or like Pokemon catchers, that it's like, I don't know, discarding cards is bad. But Dragon Burst is the main attack that you use on Rayquaza EX. It's a really good attack. So for a fire and a lightning, it does 60 times the amount of fire or lightnings that you discard from this Pokemon. So you have like 1 fire, 3 lightnings, you can discard 3 and then do 180, but you actually only discard fires in this deck because you accelerate them with Emboar. Emboar lets you attach as many fires as you want from your hand to your Pokemon in a turn. So yeah, you just like are able to hit 180 for 3, and then your energy recovery is really good too. So that the point of the deck is just to be consistent in that, and it does a pretty good job of that. Okay, so they also play 3 Tepig. So Tepig has got 70 HP, which is kind of nice, a little bit higher than the 60 that a lot of Pokemon in this format have. 2 retreat, which is whatever. Weakness to water and a single attack takedown. So it does 30 and then 10 to itself. Not really an attack that you're going to be using unless you're in a pinch spot. But you play the Tepig to finish the Emboar line. I do really like the art on this Emboar line. It's like probably one of my favorite arts that Pokemon has produced on like a series of cards. There's a couple of them. There's a Trubbish and a Wingull, I think, that are like alternates on the same card. But I love when Pokemon just like makes cards connected to one another. It's really cool. So Pignite's got 100 HP, which is really fat. For 2 colorless energy, it's got an attack called Rollout, which hits for 20. And for 3, you can Flamethrower for 70, and you discard an energy attached to that Pokemon. 3 retreat, so it's really hefty to retreat. But I mean, that's the sacrifice for Fat Boy. And then you play 2 Emboar. Emboar has 150 HP, which is really good. 4 retreat, which is 4 retreat is disgusting. Like really bad. I hate 4 retreat. I didn't actually know it had 4 retreat until like right now. I thought I had 3, but yeah, 4 is really bad. A Heat Crash, which is not the attack that you ever use. It's like a really bad investment of your energy. For 4, it does 80. I mean, if you're in a really pinch spot, you can use it, but it's pretty bad. But the reason you play Emboar is for Inferno Fandango. So Inferno Fandango says as often as you like during your turn before you attack, you can attach a fire energy from your hand to one of your Pokemon. So really good. It lets you accelerate onto those Rayquaza, and you play another attacker in the deck that we're going to go over in a second. It's really good for that attacker as well. It just like lets you do what you want to do in the deck. So you play 3 Fennekin as well. Fennekin's got 50 HP, Will-O-Wisp, a single retreat, and Will-O-Wisp for 1 does 20, so it's like okay. But yeah, you play it so that you can play the Delphox. Braxien has got 80 HP. Clairvoyant Eye is actually okay. So Clairvoyant Eye for 1 colorless, look at the top 3 cards of your deck and put them back on top of your deck in any order. So if you like are bricking and you Ultra Ball for a Braxien, at least you're like kind of hopefully not bricking for the next turn or so. But the reason you play that is for the Delphox. So Delphox has got 140 HP. 2 retreat, weakness to water as well, and it's got 2 really good parts of the card. So the first part of the card that's really good is its ability. Its ability is Mystical Fire. Once during your turn before you attack, you may draw cards until you have 6 in your hand. So they reprinted Magnetic Draw from Magnezone Prime. Really, really good ability, and it just keeps you consistent. This list plays a thicker Delphox line than some other Rayboar lists that I used to see back in the day. There's a 3-1-3, and I really like that because it just means as soon as you hit a Delphox, you're drawing cards. And you play so many cards that like discard cards from your deck that your hand size is often low enough that you're netting at least like 3 or 4 cards off of a Mystical Fire. So yeah, Mystical Fire is really good for your consistency. And then its attack is also really good. So for 3 colorless, it does 50 plus 20 for each fire attached to this Pokemon. So you have only fires, you're doing 110, and it doesn't have a cap, so you can attach as many fires as you want. And then having that as like a one prize Pokemon is really cool because you can attack with the 3 Rayquazas, like have your 3 EX Pokemon attack with a Delphox somewhere in the middle there, and then it doesn't matter because as long as your opponent doesn't hit like a catcher heads and you force them to kill a Rayquaza, to kill all 3 or Rayquazas and a Delphox, they're playing a 7 prize game. And like with Delphox being such a good attacker, you can easily just go like Rayquaza EX, take 2 prizes, they kill your Rayquaza. Delphox, take 2 prizes, they kill your Delphox, and then you can Rayquaza. Even if you miss a knockout there and they counter KO you, it doesn't matter because you have a whole other turn before you can like even have to be worried about losing the game. So yeah, Delphox is really nice, lets you play that 7 prize game, and it's just a really good card. We're gonna have the trainers. We play 4 Rare Candy. Rare Candy is just staple when you play multiple stage 2s in a deck. So this deck plays Emboar and Delphox, and you play 4 just so your consistency of hitting it is really high. You also play a bunch of Skyla, so you could search that, but Rare Candy is just, you play 4 because you play 2 stage 2 lines. Any deck that plays 2 stage 2 lines is like very frequently playing 4, unless they're thin stage 2 lines, which didn't even really happen in this format. The deck plays 4 Ultra Ball as well. Ultra Ball is a great card. Discard 2 cards from your hand, search your deck for a Pokemon and put it in your hand. So that's really good, just because discarding energies isn't that big of a deal because you play superior energy retrieval, so it's almost a good thing. Like you discard them and then you're able to search it later with superior, so at least you have like a valid target for that Ultra Ball. And like I was saying before, Ultra Ball has synergy with Delphox too, because you discard those cards from your hand, find a Pokemon, put it somewhere, and then you're able to Mystical Fire for that much more cards. So Ultra Ball is great. Play 4 superior energy retrieval. So this is kind of the backbone energy recovery of the deck. Discard 2 cards from your hand. If you can't discard 2 cards, you can't play this card. Put 4 basic energy cards from your discard pile into your hand. So when you have an Emboar in play, superior just lets you go like superior for 4 fires, or you know, a lightning and 3 fires if that's what you need, and then you can automatically have a Ray out of nowhere. So you attach that lightning for turn, and then Inferno, Fandango, the 3 fires, and then all of a sudden you're hitting for 180 when you just had 1 card in your hand. So Superior is a great card, and it's played in this deck in Blasters just because that energy retrieval is so good. You play 2 Level Ball. Level Ball is really great at finding your basics turn 1. So if you have a Level Ball or an Ultra Ball in your hand, you're finding that Tepig or Fennekin. It's also nice because it finds Braxien. It doesn't find your Pignite because it's got 100 HP. But yeah, finding those basics can be really important, especially when you need, like, you don't need both of them to get going, but as soon as you have both of them set up, your deck is really functioning because you're drawing cards and then you're playing them. And like, it's really nice as soon as you have both of them going too, because you can go like Inferno, Fandango, like I have a bunch of energy in my hand, play it all. And then you get down to like 1 to 3 cards in your hand, and then you just Mystical Fire. So yeah, Level Ball to get both of your stage 2s out early. Getting both of your stage 2s out really helps with the fluidity of the deck. Play 2 Pokemon Catcher. Pokemon Catcher is really important for a few matchups. Plasma is one of those matchups. So Palkia is a dragon type that Plasma plays, and it hits you for weakness, and that's like one of the biggest, like you just lose to that deck if you don't play catchers. So because the Palkia switches to the bench, so hitting a catcher heads on that is really good. Also like I was saying, a lot of times in this format your opponent will force you to play a 7 prize game, so they'll be like kill an EX, kill an EX, kill a non-EX for 1 prize, and then kill another EX for essentially 7 prizes. So when you have Pokemon Catcher, you play 2 in a Dowsing Machine, so you essentially play 3 if you need them. Playing Pokemon Catcher just lets you like avoid that situation where you're like, well, I don't really have the resources or like the turn time to be attacking into this 1 prize attacker for pretty much an irrelevant attack. So Pokemon Catcher just lets you get around that, and it's just like a really good card in general when you're OHKOing everything that you want to. So you play an Escape Rope too. Escape Rope's great for a bunch of reasons. Being able to switch out your Pokemon, like they all have pretty hefty retreat except for Rayquaza, and even then you don't really want to discard energy on Rayquaza if you have to retreat with them. But there's also some turns where, like, say your opponent has like a Keldeo in the active and like a Squirtle on the bench. If you're able to like you on their first turn and they don't have a Blastoise, that's like all they play on their first turn, and then you have a Rayquaza that you attach to on your first turn, all you need is an attach and an Escape Rope, and then you hit it for 60 and then you kill that Squirtle. So Escape Rope, it does, like, especially when you play Skyla, being able to just go you have 1 thing on your bench and I want to attack it, and you're able to attack it, so that's really cool. And like also just having a switch out is really nice. You don't play many other switch outs in the deck, if any, so having that one, especially if like your opponent gets an Emboar in the active paying for retreat, it's like not that big of a deal because you play superior energy retrieval, but it's definitely preferable that you don't pay for retreat if you can avoid that. Do play Super Rod as well. Super Rod is great for Pokemon recovery. So Super Rod says shuffle 3 in combination of Pokemon and basic energy cards from your discard pile back into your deck. So I'm gonna go back to Pokemon Catcher for a second. Pokemon Catcher is on a flip, and the Emerging Powers Catcher, they errated it in the middle of this format, so it is like not as good as just regular Catcher, but you still need that flip. So just like being able to bring stuff up is really important, even if it is on a flip. Like flip is bad, but not bringing up bench Pokemon is worse. So yeah, anyway, Super Rod is Pokemon recovery, so you only play 2 Emboar in it. There's a lot of like cards that force you to discard cards like Ultra Ball and Superior, and sometimes you just like have to discard those Pokemon and then you need them later. So getting them back is really nice. Shuffling back lightning energies can be really good too. Like if you have multiple lightnings in the discard, being able to shuffle like one of them back with some fires, especially when you get down to like the late game. Oftentimes you have like 6+ energy in your discard just because you discard so many, and then they're also killing things, right? So being able to get back those lightnings can be really good, so you find them to attack with Rayquaza, and getting back, like, it depends what your board is, but being able to just recover Pokemon is really good as well. Play a Dowsing Machine. Dowsing Machine's your A spec. It's great because it allows for that 5th superior energy retrieval if you need it, so you have like so much energy recovery. That 2nd catcher if that's what you need as well. Dowsing Machine for a rare candy can be really clutch too, because if you hit 1 for your Emboar or 1 for your Delphox and then you have a Dowsing Machine, all of a sudden it's another candy for you. So just, yeah, it keeps you consistent in that sense. We're getting to the stadiums. You play 3 Tropical Beach. Tropical Beach is a Worlds promo card, so it's kind of interesting. It's really strong. It's a stadium card. Once during each player's turn, that player may draw cards until he or she has 7 cards in his or her hand, and then that player's turn ends. So, you know, on your first turn, you're just attaching to a Rayquaza with a lightning optimally. Like if you have that, great. That's all you really want on your first turn, other than like a Tepig and a Fennekin on your board. But when you do hit that Tepig and Fennekin, you need to like hit the cards so that you're able to hit the stage 2s. And when you play 2 stage 2s, you have to hit a lot of cards to like combo the deck together. And Tropical Beach just lets you like draw on that first turn. Like if you have an Ultra Ball and like a Skyla, you get to find a Pokemon, lower your hand down, and then fill it back up with Beach. And you know, your opponent can use it as well, but oftentimes if they're tropical beaching, you don't really care because you're going to be one-shotting as soon as you're attacking. And if you're able to, you know, you beach and then they go, and if they beach, then all you need to do is take 2 prizes every turn for the rest of the game, and then you just win the game. So yeah, beach is great. You play 4 Skyla as well. Skyla is an awesome supporter. One of the best parts about Skyla is it lets you like directly search for a rare candy, and finding your candies is really important, especially when you play multiple stage 2s. So Skyla is awesome in that count. It's also a really good early game. You know, like if you have a beach in your hand and all you really need is a Tepig or a Fennekin, you can just Skyla for a level ball, and then all of a sudden that's on your board. There's like niche situations, like I was saying with that escape rope, that Skyla just lets you like search the escape rope, and getting a superior energy retrieval can be really nice with the Skyla as well. It just keeps you consistent on recovering your energy. But yeah, Skyla's a great card. Before Professor Juniper, Professor Juniper says discard your hand, draw 7 cards. So really good card. Probably the best supporter card in terms of draw that Pokemon's ever printed. And getting cards into your discard, you don't really care because you play so much retrieval. Like you play superiors and you play super rods that you can just afford to like burn it all to the ground and then recover it later. And just drawing cards is great for sure. Play 3N. N says each player shuffles his hand, his or her deck, and then each player draws a card from a card for each of his or her remaining prize cards. So you shuffle your hands in and then draw for your prizes. And is great in the late game. Like if you get down to 2 prizes and you hit like Mystical Fire is an N resistant ability. So like say your opponent's trying to N cuck you and they're like, I'm gonna end this guy down to 2. As long as you have a Delphox in play, it doesn't really matter. And like ending yourself down to 2 is actually not that big of a deal either. So being able to just go, we're both at 2 prizes. I really don't want you to have the cards that you have in your hand. I'm gonna N and then Mystical Fire, and then usually you're really fine. So N is a really good disturbance card. It's also really good in the early game to just shuffle, draw 6. I mean, that's decent draw. So you play Colress as well. Usually you end up with a pretty full bench with this deck. You have like an Emboar and then 1 or 2 Delphoxes and a Rayquaza on your bench and then 1 attacking. So especially in this format, like there's so many decks that just fill their bench. So being able to utilize everyone's bench. Like colors to shuffle draw in for 10, you never miss. Well, you don't never miss. I shouldn't say never because Pokemon is a cruel mistress. But if you're colorsing for 10, like say you need to hit a superior or a dowsing, like the odds that you hit that are so good. And being able to just go like, well, I have a Skyla, and then next turn I really want a Colress, Skyla for a Colress, and then Colress. Or like in the late game, when you've discarded it, being able to Dowsing Machine for it is really nice as well. It's just a really great card for draw. Okay, so we're gonna get to the energy now. You play 8 fire energy. So the fires are for Inferno Fandango. I think 8 is like super fine. 8 and 3 lightning. It's 11. You don't play a letter in this deck, which I'm not 100% sure on, but on the other hand, you do play 2 stage 2 lines, so like you're sacrificing a little bit of consistency by not playing letter, but Mystical Fire also lets you draw more cards, so I think sacrificing that there for the Delphox line is super fine. But yeah, you play fires just so you can attack, and then you play 3 lightning as well, just so you can attack with Rayquaza. And like I was saying before, like Professor Juniper, to discard that, like if you don't have a Ray on your board, discarding is not that big of a deal because you do play 4 superior energy retrievals. So as long as you're like conscious of your resources, this energy line is super fine. But yeah, this has been Rayboar. If you have any questions about the deck, leave them in the comments below and I'll do my best to get to them. But yeah, thanks for tuning in and we'll see you next time.